And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Getting Dirty in the Neverwinter Nights 2 Toolset. Alright, we are playing Path of Evil Remastered, and I've been noticing, as we've been transitioning from a lot of areas, from one area to another, we are running into a lot of the bugs where we lose Margot, our animal companion, and I know what's causing it, and the solution for the majority of them is just going into the dialogue and changing a parameter on the jump script, but I'm starting to think, why am I changing all these damn dialogues when I can change one script and fix them all? And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. As you can see, we do have the bear with us. Right here's a transition. Let's go to this transition, and let's climb down. Now, as you can see, we just lost our bear, and over here it's still in the party bar, but you can see his hit points are completely almost blacked out. And if you look on the map, you're going to see his icon way up here in the upper left hand corner. That's like the void spot. These guys are in limbo somewhere. That's where they hang out. But this is an issue that I've been seeing a lot so far in this mod, and like I said, I know what the fix is. But let's go ahead and do this a little bit different this time. Instead of changing every one of these dialogues that have this issue in that script, let's just change the script itself. It's the same script that's being used in all these dialogues. The only difference is it's a stock script, but we're going to make a small edit to it, so it's going to only affect Path of Evil. We're going to keep it in the campaign folder, so it's going to affect every one of these transitions from now on. It's always going to be fixed, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Let's go into the tool set and get this squared away. Alright, here we are back into the tool set. We're currently in the Poe Stronghold module folder, and we're currently in the town upper class area, which is Acathis, the upper class area of Acathis. And if you guys remember, in a long time ago when I started making these Getting Dirty in the tool set videos, we ran into a similar situation with transitions, and you wouldn't be able to transition with your animal companion if this party transition was set to false, and you'd run into that issue. But we already made a fix for all that stuff, so we don't have to be concerned with that. But now the situation we're running into is in dialogue, and there's a specific script that handles this issue in dialogue. So let's come over to this area. This is where we were just at, in this little hole where I showed you. Let's go ahead and look at the conversation file on this hole, which is this right here, and let's hit Control B to bring it up. Alright, here we go into the dialogue. And as soon as you click the climb down option here for the PC, you're going to see there's an action script here called GA Jump Players. And yeah, there's no conditions or anything. Let's take a closer look at that action. Let's come down here and hit the action tab. And as you can see, we got a couple parameters here on this one. We got the destination tag. That's the tag where we're going to jump to. Now you're going to see this parameter right here. It's a Boolean for integer. It's set to 0. And then there's another one here that's a Boolean only this area. This is also set to 0. Now this one here does nothing. That's for some old script that Obsidian probably had when they first made this game, but it's no longer used. And this Boolean here, whole party, if you set this to 1, you're going to fix the problem. I can tell you that right now. But because of the fact that this is set on 0, that is what's causing us not to transition with our animal companion. So let's take a closer look at this script. Let's just bring it up. Let's go ahead and double click it so it's highlighted here. The GA Jump Player script, and I'm going to hit Control B. And we're going to bring it up so we got a nice view of it here. Let's take a look at this script. As you can see, there's a lot of notes here. As far as parameters, yes, we know this. The tag of the waypoint, or the object to jump to, that's the destination tag. And the Boolean whole party. Now this is deceiving. It says does nothing in campaign. I think this is where a lot of people are confused. This actually should be completely deleted out of this script, because this whole party parameter does mean something. If set to 0, then jump the PC only, else jump the PC's party. That is also deceiving. Yeah, that needs to be changed. Like I said, this script has been modified multiple times. As you can see, there's been a lot of fixes going on to this script right here over these few years. And some of this stuff in this script is no longer valid to the script itself. This is all debunked stuff. Let's take a closer look at this one. Now, something you'll probably notice right off the bat is you now have a void jump party right here. And now you're all thinking about, wait a second, I thought we were supposed to start from a void main. Yes, the void main is down here. When you see something like this, this is sometimes known as a wrapper. All this is a unique function specific only to this script. Okay, so if you see this jump party function, it's like one of these functions over here. The only thing, you won't find it over here. You're only going to find it in this script. They call them wrappers. Alright, so when you see this, it's a wrapper. So this is a function name right here, jump party. So if you go down to the main script down here, you're probably going to find a function called jump party. So let's take a quick look and see if it's even down here. Yes, there is. There's one right here. But if you notice, it's commented out. It's like I said, this is a debunked part of the script that's no longer used. Alright? Like I said, this script has been modified multiple times through these few years right here. So this is an old part of the script that is no longer in effect anymore. So you could potentially just delete this out of here, to be honest with you, and just use this. As you can see, they replaced jump party and jump party to area with a new function called single party transition. That's what they're replacing all this stuff with. And what we're going to do, and I think this is going to work fine, since there's a lot of dialogues that have this whole party boolean set to 0, which like we know is going to cause us problems with transitioning with our animal companions, and we don't want to do that. We want to fix that. But we could just go into every one of these dialogue files and just change this to 1. But there's dozens of these. I looked into dialogues. There's at least 6 more of these. Plus, there's like 3 of them are already fixed. So I'm thinking, why should I fix, a dozen files, a dozen dialogue files, when I can just fix one script, the GA jump players? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a custom script, and I'm going to call it GA jump players, because we want it to be used, because we're going to put it in our campaign folder. And like I said in previous videos, files that are in your campaign folder are going to override files in your module folder, as well as the stock game scripts in the install folder. Alright? And just so you know, the override folder will override anything else, including the campaign folder, except for a hack. A hack file trumps everything. So if you have same named files in your hack, and there's another one in your override folder, for example, and then there's another one in your campaign folder, they all have the same name, the one in the hack is always going to be priority. It's going to take effect over any of the other saved named files. Now let's say we did not have a hack and we're only using the override folder. Same thing pertains. The file that's in your override folder will override everything else, except for a hack. Of course, the hack is always going to be trump everything. So, but I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about. If we make a custom GA jump players and put it in our campaign folder, every dialogue in the rest of this whole module, the whole Path of Evil campaign, is now going to use our custom GA jump players. Okay, it won't use the stock GA jump players. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. I want to use pretty much all of this. Well, not pretty much all of it. I think I'm going to delete a ton of this crap out of here, because we know for sure this jump party wrapper, we can get rid of this whole scope right here, because it's no longer used. As you can see, it's completely commented out, so it's not even going to be used. So let's just get rid of it. Let's get rid of it all. Alright, now the next thing we can do, all this stuff that's commented out down here, let's just get rid of that too. We don't need to have that in our, this is going to be our custom script. I don't want all this garbage in here. All these garbage notes in here, let's get rid of that stuff. All this confusing stuff needs to go. Let's see here. Now what we don't want to change though are the parameters. As you can see, there's 3 parameters in this. If we go back here, yeah, you can see it's the same 3. The destination tag, the whole party, and the only in this area. But if we come over to the script, here they are. The destination tag, the whole party, and only in this area. Now, we already know that this only this area one is not even used. You can put whatever you want in there. It's not going to matter. The script is not even going to use that part. But we can't get rid of it, unfortunately, because every dialog is using that parameter. So if we get rid of it right now, it's probably going to error out. But it's not going to be an issue leaving it there because it's not going to do anything. You can put 0 in here. You can put 100 in here. You can put a bunch of, whatever you want there. It's not going to mean anything. The script's not even going to use it. So let's just leave it there, knowing that we're not going to use it. So this little definition right here, the only in this area, you can see it says does nothing. We're going to leave that. All right. And up here in this whole party one, let's change this so it's not so confusing. Let's see. If set to true. Well, actually, let's not put that in there. Let's say if set to 1, all associates will jump with the party. Now, when I say associates, that's specifically characters that are in your party that are not companions, and is not your main character, and is not a created character. Okay, like if you were playing Storm as a hero, a created character is one that you would make from the ship's manifest. So one of your own created characters. So your main PC or one of your own created characters, or one of your companions. Or in Storm as a hero, they're called cohorts. So, in other words, associates are animal companions, summoned creatures, familiars, and henchmen. There might be another one in there. I might have forgot anything, but those are not. Those are just like, characters you can't really control. Okay, except for familiars, you can control them, but they're considered associates. So that's what I mean. This is going to pertain to associates. Let's see. The rest of this information we're leaving there. We don't need all these notes in here. Let's just get rid of that stuff. All right. Let's see. What else can we get rid of? Let's get rid of this other garbage that doesn't pertain to us. Alright, now as you can see, there's a couple includes here attached to this script. There's one for debugging. I'm not even concerned at all with debugging in this, so let's just get rid of that one altogether. No need to have lines of code in this script that aren't even going to pertain to it. Okay. Now, let's take a look at some of this other code that's in this script. Let's start from here. Object OPC equals getPCSpeaker. And then you're going to see all this stuff here. This might be something new that you might have never seen before. What this means, if getPCSpeaker, when you see it in this form like this, you got this question mark right here, and then you got a colon right here, and then you got this is equal to. When you see it in this form, it means if the getPCSpeaker equals object invalid, then getPCSpeaker equals object self. That's what that means. You're going to see this a lot in a lot of dialogue scripts, which means conversation can start with a placeable, for example. So there's not really a PC speaker. So in that case, the PC speaker would return as object invalid. So that would, if it would return as object invalid, it'd probably make this script fail. So the creators of this particular line of code added this stuff in here to let the engine know, hey, if the PC speaker is object invalid, then just make the PC speaker equal object self. That's pretty much all that means. It's like a failsafe is what it is. It prevents your scripts from failing if there's no actual PC speaker. So that's essentially what that means. We're going to leave that there. Let's put a space in here. Alright, now let's look at this next line of code. We have this scope right here. It's an if statement. If the global int campaign switch remove dominated on transition equals true, then do this. Remove dominated from party. Okay, essentially what that's saying, if you got any characters in your party that are dominated by the enemy, once you go through a transition, this script will make them undominated. That's essentially what that means. We're going to leave that there too. Alright, let's go down to the next line of code here. We have a declaration here called oDestination, and it's defined as getObjectByTag, and it's the destination tag, which is this up here. Okay, so that would be this parameter that you input right here. That's 9 times out of 10, that's a waypoint tag. Okay, so that's the tag at a waypoint, and you put it in right there. So the script's going to look for that waypoint tag and put it right here and get object by tag, and that's what its declaration is ODestination. Alright, now let's go to the next line here, which is another scope, and this is another if statement. And you can see here, if whole party equals 0. Now that's this integer right here, parameter. If that equals 0, and then you have this AND operator. So that means both this whole party equals 0 needs to be true, and this get global integer variable global gather your party equals 0. If both of these return as 0, then this if statement will return as true, which means assign command OPC jump to object. Okay? If it does not equal 0, if both of these do not equal 0, remember there's an operator here that says AND, so that means both of these here declarations must equal 0. If they do not, then do this else statement, which is a single party transition, which means jump the entire party. Okay? That's what that's saying. So what I want to do is I want to make sure this is always going to be set to 0 or set to 1 in script. And here's how we're going to do that. Now, there is a function that's really handy for single player games. Let's do a search for single, the word single. See this function right here? Get is single player. Let's take a look at the description. Returns true if this is a single player only game. Most modules that you can pull off of Nexus or the Vault are single player games. Not all of them. But in this particular case, I'm going to take a wild guess and say Path of Evil was designed to be a single player game. If this is a multiplayer game, I can tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of issues with the multiplayer game in here that's going to just drive people nuts. But here's what we're going to do. I want to use that function in this particular script. Here's what I'm going to do. Let's make an if statement. Now, as you can see, get is single player. It's trying to find some information for me. That's what get means. It means pull some information. Get me the information is what this is saying. Okay. Let's make an if statement. Let's pop this in here. Get is single player. Let's double click that in there. Let's pop it right in there. And as you can see, there's no parameters for this, so all it is a simple left and right parentheses at the end of it. Okay. Now this thing is going to return as an integer, and as the description says, it returns true if this is a single player only game. Okay, so if you started this module from Neverwinter Nights 2 as a single player game, that's what it's going to find out. Or if you started it as a multiplayer game. If you started this game as a single player game, this is going to return as true. If you started this game as a multiplayer game, then this is going to return as false. Okay, so that's all we want to find out. Is this a single player game or not? So let's just close it with a right parentheses, and now let's make a curly bracket left side, and then now let's make another line right here. Let's set this Boolean whole party, let's copy that, and then we're going to set it to 1. Okay, everybody understand what I'm talking about here now? We already declared it. It's already declared up here. Alright, we don't have to declare anything for this Boolean whole party because it's already declared up here in the parameters. Now we're going to end this with a semicolon and then another right side curly bracket. Okay, now since this is such a short line of code, let's do this. Let's get rid of those curly brackets and let's just make one line of code. Make it nice and simple. Alright, with those curly brackets is exactly the same as one line of code like this. Okay, I'm doing it because it's going to save space. You know, we don't have to have a script 2 pages long when you can shorten it up and make it nice and simple like this. What this is saying, if this is a single player game, then that B whole party declaration will equal 1. Okay? So that means when we get to this next line of code, remember there was another if statement here. If b whole party equals 0, then do this assign command jump to object. We don't want to do that. We want to do this single party transition in a single player game in every case. Alright? That's why I'm doing this. This is going to make sure that that whole party parameter, which is this one right here, and like I said, the majority of them are all set to 0, which is what we don't want. We want the script to read this and automatically set it to 1 on its own when the script runs. That's what's going on here. If this is a single player game, then B whole party declaration will equal 1. So that means when it goes to this next line of code, this whole party does not equal 0. So that means it's going to skip this scope and go on to this one, this else statement right here, and it's going to do a single party transition. Single party transition is what we want to do because it's going to jump your entire party, including your associates. Alright? Whereas this line of code, essentially it's only supposed to jump your PC. But it'll jump your party, but not with your associates. I think that's probably an engine bug. It's a bug within the engine. It's hard coded, unfortunately. Okay? So now let's clean this up a little bit more. See how we have some space right here? We can fit this line right after else. So let's get rid of these unneeded curly brackets right here and save us a little bit of space. There we go. I think that's going to work fine. Now let's take a closer look at this script. Let's make a note up here. And let's see, 4.12.21 added code to ensure that the entire party jumps using the single party transition function. Alright, that should probably be good. Let's add if playing a single player game. Okay, that should be good. So if you're playing a multiplayer game and that's set to 0, that's fine, because you only want, in that case, you probably only want to have your main character jump, and you don't want to jump all your buddies with you, all your other human players with you. Okay, that's why I'm doing it like that. So you can, if somebody does want to play this as a multiplayer game, it's not going to change anything if it's a multiplayer game. All right, so let's save and compile this now. All right, now when you're editing a base stock script like this GA Jump Players, which is a stock script, you're going to get this warning pop up. You cannot save this script to its original location. Would you like to save it to your module instead? Just say yes, okay? That essentially what that's saying is it's not going to overwrite the original stock script, okay? Because you're not supposed to, because it'll screw all kinds of stuff up if you start editing the stock script. So it's going to make a copy for you and put it in your module folder. As you can see, it just put it in my modules folder here in my Poe Stronghold folder. Okay, so what we're going to do next, let's come down here to scripts. And 9 times out of 10 when you make a new script, it's always at the end. Yeah, here it is. As you can see, it's a module script. We want it set to a campaign, okay? So it's going to be save game compatible, and it's going to override any other scripts that might be in the module folder. So if you right click on it, highlight it first so it's highlighted like that, and then right click on it and then come over here to where it says convert to campaign, click that. Okay, it's going to close out the one that you had open up here, but now as you can see there's a letter C on its icon right here, which means it's now a campaign script. So let's open it up again and let's take a quick look at it, and just to make sure. Now the reason, here's another thing. The reason that this include here for Gank transitions is up here is because that's where this function resides. See what I just did there? If you come over here, let's come over here. let's do a filter for single. See that? How it's not blue, single party transition? It's black, whereas these other ones are blue. Remember what I said in earlier videos. The ones that are blue are the stock scripts. Alright? These ones that are in black, that means they reside in an include file. Okay? So if you come over here to the script, if you double click on it and right click it here and it says go to definition, and you can do the same thing over here. If you highlight it and right click on it and say go to definition, it's going to bring up the include file for you automatically, and it's going to put your cursor right on the line where that function exists. As you can see, it's right down here. Here's my cursor down here, and there it is, single party transitions. So that's going to show you all the code that falls under that single party transition function. Okay, so when we run that, all this code is going to work right here. Alright, so that's why, oops, I don't want to do that. That's why we have this include file right here, because that's where that function resides. If you do not include this, let me show you. Let's test it right now. Let's comment this out. Let's put a couple forward slashes on it to comment that out. As you can see, it just disappeared from our function list. Now, if I try to save and compile this, you can see it just errored out because it doesn't know what single party transition is. That's why we need to have this include up here to let the engine know, hey, I'm using a function that resides in this include file called gank transition. Okay, now if we do a save and compile now, as you can see, compilation successful, because now it knows what single party transition is, because it can now read it from this include file. And now you can see it now showed up over here again. Alright, I think that's going to be it. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. That should work just like we want it to. So let's do another save and compile just to make sure. And let's see, let's close out this stuff that we don't need. We don't need this open anymore. I don't want to save it. Let's just leave that alone. Okay, now let's go into game and test this. Alright, here we are in game. As you can see, we have Margot, our bear, with us. And let's go over here to the transition and test it out. Now, like I just showed you, all I changed was a script. I didn't change this dialogue that's attached to this opening right here. This dialogue, I did not do anything with it. So now, let's go down and see if Margot is going to show up with us. Shazam, there she is. Very nice. So we killed about a dozen birds with one stone with that one script. So if we run into it, we shouldn't run into this issue anymore with these dialogues that would prevent our animal companion from transitioning with us. Alright, so that was actually a pretty easy fix, but it was a pretty good one too. So, alright guys, let me know. Give me a like, leave some comments if you want. Please subscribe. All that stuff helps me out. I'll see you in the next episode.